Hello everybody, I am Rainbow Red Panda and welcome to my comic review. Today I am going to be reviewing the first 3 issues of Mylo's Xyloto, which is written by Coldplay and published by Bongo. There are currently 4 issues of this comic out. Issue number 4 came out a couple weeks ago, but I'm not going to be including it in the review in case you guys are interested in reading it and I don't want to just completely ruin the entire plot, so I'm just going to do the first 3 issues. There are 6 issues in this series, so there are still a couple left after this, so you guys are interested. There are a couple new issues to look forward to in the future. This comic was announced last year by Coldplay at Comic-Con, and they had the first issue there. I'm guessing they only had a few copies for a select few people. It was like a special edition cover, and it was announced there, and it was published worldwide in January. So it's a fairly new comic. I discovered it in March on the 2nd issue. I was in Memphis and I was in this comic book store on a Wednesday and I couldn't buy anything new because my comic book store had them waiting for me. So I just kind of looked at stuff that my comic book store doesn't carry. And as soon as I saw that, I'm not a huge Coldplay fan, but I have heard of the Mylo Xyloto album. I think I've heard the majority of the singles that they have released from that album, so I was semi-familiar with it. I didn't think that it sounded like a story that you could make a comic book on, or that it even sounded like a story that went together like some albums are, and I still haven't listened to the entire album, so I don't know if it is or not. But I knew that they had something to do with it, so I picked it up and looked at it, and just right away, I mean, the first 2 issues, these are the 2 issues that I saw. And they're colorful, and they're pretty, and they're bright, but they're also dark. And I really like whenever bright and dark colors, complement each other, so I was really kind of excited about that. So I bought them to give them a chance. I mean, I think they're $2.99, so they're not, super expensive. It wasn't, a $4.99 comic that I was, wasting $10 on. It was only a couple dollars. And you can also buy them digitally if you don't want to go and buy or order the paper cover. So you can get them digitally also. But this is the first one. On the cover is Fly, who is a spark, or she does sparks. That's kind of what is coming out of her fingers here. She does graffiti type work in this. There's a world called Silencia, and it's kind of like a play on the word of silence. And they are not allowed to have any sort of color or entertainment. They live a fairly boring life. They're not necessarily on a set schedule or anything. It's not that kind of boring, but they're not allowed to do a lot of they can't really think for themselves. They're constantly hooked up. All of their people kind of look like Bender from Futurama. They have little helmets that are shaped kind of like his head, and that is where they are fed hypno feed, and they also have the looking glass that they look out that takes out all color. All they see are images in black and white, and the hypno feed kind of calms them down. The reason that they're anti this is because long ago there was a war between, the color people that are now called the Eaters. I don't think that's what they were called at that time, but the Eaters and then the non-Eaters, the Silencians, they were in this war. The Silencians ended up winning and driving the Eaters out, but some of them have kind of re-emerged. They have a leader that they kind of think will come back for them, and so they just kind of wait for that. And they're underground. They do a lot of their work in the sewers and things like that, but sometimes they come out and do them on buildings, and that is when they get in trouble. The main one is this one. She's kind of seemed to be their leader on Silencia. Her name is Fly, and she plays a major part as the comics go along. So I'm sure in the last 2 issues she will have more of a plot line than she already does now. But Mylo Xyloto is the main character. He is the name of the comic. So he is on the cover of the other 3. He's on this one. He's right there. And then he is this one. And then this is Fly. And then him and Fly are also on the cover of this one. And then he's also on the back. That's a baby Mylo. And that's what I like about these, is that it's a cover on the front, but the back also is artwork. So it's kind of interesting. This is a Major Minus, who he is like the king or president or whatever of this world of Silencia. Everything that is done, he is, to do with, and of course, he bans everyone else from doing all this, but he is watching, like, reality television and inappropriate, like, pornographic things and stuff like that all the time. So, he doesn't really follow his own rules. He kind of just keeps the people, like, under their hypno-feed trance, and of course they're not going to notice. So, he has the silencers, which are what Mylo, Xyloto, and a couple of his friends are. They are people that were taken during the war, that were taken, like, their parents were killed, they were left for orphanages and things. They were taken and put into, like, these training camps where all they did for all of their lives pretty much was trained to be silencers. And that's like the police/army of this world of Silencia. They're in charge of keeping the peace, making sure that all of the citizens are not getting out of control, that they're, doing the right amount of their hypno feed. They are also to make sure that any sparks that happen are blacked out right away, and whoever is responsible for them, they catch them, and then they basically, like, vaporize them or take them to prison, depending on what Major Minus wants them to do. I don't know, I'm not a fan of him, and I don't think anyone really is. So Mylo, Xyloto, he is a silencer, but he kind of wonders, like, whenever he sees his first, like, spark actually in person, he likes it, I mean, it's colorful, it's bright, like, who wouldn't like that? So, he sees it, he kind of questions it, and his friend is just like, what are you doing? Like, he sees this, I mean, look at this, it's like something that you would see, like, a graffiti artist do, like, that's basically what the sparks are. They're like graffiti art that you would see, someone do on just an abandoned wall or something like that. So, but they're, like, super bright, and I mean, usually their world is, like, very dark, like, no color whatsoever. Their faces are colored and stuff, but besides the silencers, you don't see people's faces. They usually have, if I can find a picture. Yeah, like, here's one that's, like, in its little hypno feed tank, kind of, like, benderish. I don't know. It's the best word I can think of describing. And he actually has, if you take too much of the hypno feed, I guess, it kind of has, like, a hallucinogenic effect, and you kind of spaz out. And that's what happened to that guy that I just showed you. He kind of, like, has a spasm, and he actually gets in trouble and gets vaporized, and he didn't even do anything. He was just a normal citizen, but he, like, drew attention to himself in an inappropriate way, and so they had to take care of it so that people wouldn't talk and get upset. So that's basically the plot line that's going on. They're trying to find Fly and capture her because she is the main eater in the story. And Mylo finds her, but he kind of decides that, she's not a bad person. So he actually kind of helps her. He tries to find out what they're about, and he actually ends up finding out that he has the capabilities of making these sparks. He has the fingers, like, the colors come out of their fingers and things. It's not like something that they do with paint and stuff. Like, it comes out of their bodies. It comes out of, like, their fingertips and things, and you can tell an eater just by looking at their fingertips. So Major Minus gets super fed up with not being able to see or to capture Fly, so he kind of makes a thing, like, all the citizens have to have all of their gloves off at once. You can't have your gloves on all. I don't think the silencers have to follow this, but if they are asked to remove their gloves, they do have to. So Fly comes out to his, not Fly, sorry, but Mylo comes out to Fly. She wants to see his abilities, and he is actually he makes really good sparks. He is kind of responsible for, I don't know, like, he does, like, this kind of stuff. It's not, like, I mean, he's new, so he's practicing. He's not going to make, like, super crazy ones at first. That comes out more in this one. You get to see his abilities more in the fourth one. But overall, I mean, it's a good written comic. It's definitely more interesting than I expected it to be, and if you had changed the name from Mylo, Xyloto to, like, I don't know, Paint Man or something, I would not have thought that Coldplay had anything to do with this. It's not something that I mean, a lot of people don't like Coldplay. Coldplay is just kind of one of those bands that you either love them or you hate them. And I think even Coldplay haters would like this comic if they liked comics. It's also a comic that if you're not like super into comics but you read the occasional story, I think that this is something that you would like as well. It is very colorful if you're very into art and things like that. Like, you would totally be into this, I believe. If you're into like hardcore like superhero stories, this might not be the story for you, but I think that it kind of has a little bit of something for everybody. It can appeal to both men and women. I know a lot of guys like it, and they like it for the bright colors as well. So it's just an interesting story. I mean, it's kind of like the stereotypical like story. It almost reminds me of like 1984 from like George Orwell in a way, just kind of like the whole thing of being repressed and not being able to, do what you want. You're under a schedule. And I mean, that's a story that's repeated itself many, many times, but I mean, it's a story that works, so they kind of stick with it. This kind of takes like its own little flair on it. It adds the idea of like the eaters and the colors and things like that, but it is very interesting, and I really like the story. So I hope that you guys will like it as well. And there aren't a ton of reviews. I tried to read a couple of reviews on it this morning, and there aren't really a lot out there. There are people that talk about it, but the only reason it's really even mentioned is because Coldplay has something to do with it. So, unfortunately, this is a comic series that I think is only going to be really known because the authors are in a band. But I think that it would have done good if it would have been any other sort of title. Like, if just a random writer would have written it on his own. Like, they do have some help with this. Mark Osborne writes this along with them. I think that if he would have put this out on his own, he would have done well with it. But obviously he probably wouldn't have thought of the story because it's a Coldplay thing, but I don't know. They say, Coldplay claims that like they had this idea for a while. I don't know if that's actually true, or, someone listens to an album, because the album came out in 2011, and the comic wasn't even announced until 2012. So I'm not really sure if that's what's going on, but I enjoy the comic. Coldplay or not Coldplay, I enjoy it, and I think that it's something that you guys would enjoy as well. So I don't really know anyone besides me that's read Mylo Xyloto. The guy at my comic book store had never even heard of it before I brought it in, and that's kind of the case with like a lot of people whenever I tell them about it. So it does exist. It should be in like a larger comic book store, would probably carry it regularly. Like I said, I found it in Memphis, so near the Memphis area, those comic book stores carry it, but Memphis is kind of known for music and Coldplay music, so I don't know, but I would recommend it to anybody. It is one of the better series that I read lately. I get really excited whenever it comes out because, like I've said millions of times now, I like the colors, I like the artwork in it, and I like the storyline too, and they go well together, the characters match what their colors look like. It all goes well together, and it's just well organized and structured. So I would recommend it. And if you guys read it, and let me know what you think. I would like to get other opinions on it. So that is all I have for this review. I will see you guys next time. Bye!